Otani Pond. It was getting late as they drove towards Otani Pond for their date. She didn't exactly want to go there at night. The area was famous for numerous deaths and had all sorts of rumours surrounding it. But she couldn't think of a reason to refuse, so she let him drag her along. She hesitated as he stopped the car. Something about the place didn't feel right. Like someone was watching her, or someone was nearby that she couldn't see. Again, she couldn't say anything, so she pretended like it was nothing and tried not to let it ruin their time together. "We should step out for a minute and stretch our legs," he said. That was the last thing she wanted, but she couldn't think of a good excuse to say no, so she sighed and followed him. They walked over to the pond and sat on a bench by the waterside. They chatted about this and that, but she couldn't shake the feeling that something, somewhere, was watching them. Not something small, like a pet watching you waiting for its food, but something much larger, much more sinister. Before long, she couldn't take it anymore. The feeling was only getting worse, not better, and she turned to her boyfriend. "Look, it might just be my imagination, but I can sense something strange by the water. It feels like it's getting closer, and I'm scared. So can we go back to the car now?" At that very moment, a female voice groaned behind them. They were the only two at the pond, and there was nothing behind them but water. Her boyfriend seemed to hear it too, because he wordlessly nodded, grabbed her hand, and dragged her back to the car. In the early 1900s, the old village of Minami-Iyo suffered a constant cycle of drought and floods. One year would see drought, the next bad flooding, over and over, making farming extremely difficult in the area. Village headman Takechi Sogoro decided that building a man-made pond for farmers to use as irrigation was the best way to solve this problem, and poured his own funds into the project to get it going. Construction finally finished in 1944, but if you believe the stories, it wasn't without great struggle. Considered one of the most dangerous and famous ghost spots in all of Ehime, the pond was reportedly plagued with troubles, and 3 deaths were officially recorded during construction. If you believe the rumours, they weren't the only ones, however, and when the dam walls burst during construction, it's said over 300 people were killed. However, rather than setting up a memorial stone to honour their deaths, it's said that officials tried to hide what happened instead. Those spirits, unable to move on, now continue to haunt the waters of Otani Pond. In addition to the rumoured 300 plus deaths, it's said that 100 women were buried alive in the pond's walls during construction. The project was troubled from the very beginning, and the foundations reportedly kept washing away. This led to flooding of the surrounding areas and caused massive damage. In response, it was decided to sacrifice 100 women as hitobashira, or human pillars. This practice involved burying people alive inside construction projects as a sacrifice in the hopes that things would thereafter proceed smoothly. There are rumours of hitobashira all over Japan, and most of these places are, as you might expect, now considered ghost spots. There is, of course, no proof that this ever took place, but according to the legends, once the 100 women were sealed in the pond's walls, the rest of the project went off without a hitch. It's possible that this particular rumour came about because of a collection of 100 Jizo statues located near the pond. Jizo statues are often dedicated to those who have lost their lives somewhere, although that's not always the case. Someone may have assumed they were related to the troubled construction and spread the story that 100 women were sacrificed. But according to locals, the statues are entirely unrelated to the pond. They just happen to be nearby. It's also said that Takechi Sogoro, the village headman who poured his own funds into the project, buried a photo of himself in the pond walls during construction to pray for good luck. This, combined with the Jizo statues, may have warped over the years into the tale told today of 100 women sacrificed to ensure the project's completion. These days, if you visit the pond at night, you may see the white arms of those who died during construction reaching out of the water towards the sky, trying to drag anything within arm's reach into the murky depths with them. People also claim that a female spirit lurks the pond's edges, although it's unknown if she's one of the suspected Hitobashira. People also report hearing strange voices around the pond that get closer and closer, and some report headaches and fevers that don't break until well away from the pond. And as with many ghost spots around Japan, it's said that the spirit medium Gibo Aiko once visited the pond and quickly fled, finding herself overwhelmed by the sheer number of spirits lurking in the water, leaving with a quote of, "This is too much for me. There's nothing I can do here." Ghost hunters recommend taking a friend with you if you must investigate the pond at night, and never going alone. The massive amount of spirits can simply be too much for most, and if it's good enough for Gibo Aiko to flee, then it's good enough for the rest of the population as well. Junsai Pond Park. Rumours claimed the park wasn't just a popular sightseeing location, but a popular location for deaths as well. Word had it that numerous bodies had been found over the years near the park's many tall trees, and the shrine hidden within those trees didn't exactly make that any less creepy. He visited the park one night with a friend for a test of courage. Was it truly as scary as people claimed it was? Only one way to find out. Yet after an entire lap of the strangely shaped park, nothing happened. No ghosts, no bodies, nothing. Disappointed, they returned to the car, but as soon as they got there, something inside the car clicked. It was the locks unlocking themselves. He turned to his friend, but he shook his head. He didn't do it. He held his keys up to show him. That wasn't me. Maybe you accidentally pressed it. But as they were arguing, the car clicked again. This time, the car had locked itself. His friend was still holding the keys up and very clearly hadn't pressed the button on them. They had heard the park was haunted, but this wasn't exactly what they had been expecting. Wait, what's that? He pointed to something in the trees. It looked like a red light, and it was coming right for them. They jumped in the car and sped out of there as fast as they could. They most definitely weren't going to wait to see what that red light was, nor what it wanted from them. Not after the little incident with the car locks. Whatever it was, there was no way it could be good news. Junsai Pond Park can be found smack bang in the middle of a residential area in Niigata City, roughly 1.5 kilometers from the coast. It's a strangely shaped park, looking almost like an old-fashioned telephone receiver when viewed from above. At its longest, it spans roughly 600 meters, while at its narrowest, it's barely a few trees wide. and at each end of the park you can find a pond, generally referred to as the East and West Ponds. The East Pond is known for its water lilies and water chestnuts, while the West Pond is famous for its water shields. In fact, it's from these water shields that the park gets its name. Water shields are known as junsai in Japanese. The park takes up roughly 73,000 square hectares and is also famous for its red pine trees, weeping cherry blossoms, and a wide variety of flowers as well. During the firefly season, you can also find them in abundance nearby. Or, at least, you used to. These were artificially bred, but in recent years they have become harder to maintain, and so the program to breed them was stopped. But that's not all the park is famous for. Of course, it's also famous for apparently being haunted. One of the most common stories is that, of course, the toilets are haunted. Supposedly, someone died in one of the toilets one night, and after that, rumours rapidly spread that their ghost continued to linger in the area. Things got so bad that the toilets even had to be renovated because of it. If you believe the stories, that is. Of course, merely renovating a supposedly haunted building will never be enough to get rid of the rumours, and to this day they still persist, even if nobody is quite sure who may or may not have died there, and even in which building this may or may not have happened in. There are several toilets spread out across the park, after all. One rumour in particular claims that the park is haunted by a fierce female ghost. Is she the same one who haunts the toilets? Perhaps, but perhaps not. One story claims that this particular woman is actually an elderly woman who died near the pond. To this day, her angry spirit still haunts the area, chasing down anyone brave enough to come near, as elderly Japanese spirits are known to do. Other rumours claim this fierce spirit is actually that of a young woman, and others a young girl. Sometimes she haunts the toilets, sometimes the forest, sometimes the pond. Could this spirit be the red light some people claim to have seen when visiting the park at night? Who knows, but either way, she sounds rather busy. No rest for the dead either, it seems. Regardless of whether you believe in ghosts or not, the park has developed a bit of a reputation over the years. 2 deaths have apparently been confirmed there, with one taking place in a toilet building and another in the rest area. And various locals have claimed to have found the remnants of rope hanging from trees on occasion as well. The narrow passage connecting the East and West Ponds is rather dense and dim, as are the toilet buildings. Combined with the small shrine hidden within the forest, you have the perfect breeding ground for an oppressive atmosphere and scary stories to bloom. But what did you guys think of this one? Are there any other haunted locations that you'd like me to explore? Let me know in the comments below, and if you'd like to help support this channel so you can see more content like this, please consider hitting that join button down below as well. Every bit of support really helps. Thanks guys, and I'll see you again next time.